Yiggity-yer, it's Flo. Thank y'all for coming through. If you don't already know, I'm a reader, I'm a healer, amongst many other things, and this is my weekly scope, the Glowcast. So, what I have to offer y'all this week is a cute reading with the Osho Zen deck. I love this deck. This was my first tarot deck. I have my lovely selenite crystals who may or may not come in and give us a little bit of guidance. Sometimes I like to hold crystals or pull from crystals while I'm reading. They always have really interesting insight to add, and they're really good at clarifying certain aspects that the regular human mind might not be able to pull. Also adding on with astrological insight from the Yulin astrological book. And yeah, here we go. Just gonna light me up some smoke. Sometimes when I'm in my chill mood, as you can tell by my robe, I like to smoke a little skull cap while I'm reading, so. You might also see my cat come in and out. But yeah. This has been a really interesting month, based on all of the transits, based on all of the shifts, the aftermath from the eclipses. This week should be interesting because there are going to be some interesting Mars transits in terms of it moving into Taurus soon, right after Valentine's Day, I believe. But the 13th is going to be a very strong day. It's going to be a very big day of making sure you're not getting involved in bullshit and making sure you're not backtracking on all the growth that you've had, especially socially, especially with people you've been rebuilding with, people you've been growing with, and people that you're just very close to. So being mindful of that. This video is probably going to be posted after that, so please keep that in mind. Yeah, let's start. Ooh. Heavenly Creator, highest to the high, the one and all in one. I thank you for allowing me to be here and present. I thank you for allowing me to be here with the collective. I ask, should there be any lower energies, entities, beings of harm in our minds, body, spaces, they be cleared out now by Archangel Michael for the highest good and the highest good of all those around us. Ooh. Ask my guys to the highest good be here and present with me as you always are. I'm going to hear, know, see, show anything the collective needs to know for their betterment, for their growth. Show me in all the ways that you normally do, and allow any and all excess energies to be transmuted into peace. That we all understand what we need to do, understand how it applies to us personally. That these words reach us in the moments we need them the most. That we be able to channel, to tap in, and to grow. Achie. So, Spirit already talking, y'all. You see, normally it'll be like 1 or 2 cards that pops out. It's half the whole fucking deck. This is like 4 cards. Okay. This is a whole spread. So, this pull is for the week of the 15th to the 22nd. So, let's see what's going on. Okay, so we have the Tower upright, King of Pentacles reversed, 6 of Wands reversed, and the Wheel. Cool. So it seems like a lot of you did not get to hear that about the 13th in time. But also it seems like a lot of stable ground has been broken, a lot of ties have been broken, a lot of feelings of mischief have come up and come out to play at probably the worst times, and it seems like a lot of people are falling back into the cycles of who they told themselves they would not be. It seems like a lot of you are going through a process of trying to understand how to control yourself best when things are hurling around you, when bodies are flailing around you, and people are losing their shit around you, and when you kind of take that in internally, right? Also feels like a lot of you have not gotten the blessings that you feel like you were promised. It feels like a lot of you are feeling like that which you were owed, or that stability that was promised to you, the promise that you were made by others, that obstacles would be obsolete, was upturned. And it seems like a lot of you feel like there is no way to win anymore. It feels like there is no way to overcome anymore. A lot of you are feeling tired. What is going to be extremely important is to remember, as cliche as it sounds, not to give up. In order to recognize your power in this situation, you have to acknowledge that there are always karmic aspects, right? By karmic aspects, I mean the idea that as we approach this retrograde, as we come into the shadow period, we are all acknowledging things that might have happened with people that we may have led astray at other points, right? This is going to become very, very prominent for folks over the next 2 weeks, in the sense that we are learning how to see from the eyes of the people we have hurt, the people we have been hurt by, and the people we fail to realize we have hurt. So this is going to pull a lot of people out of victimhood. It's going to pull a lot of people out of the idea that they were the only person who was wronged in a situation. It's going to pull people out of the idea that, or even vice versa really, but it feels more like the former. What's going to become even more important is that we're able to identify that. So a lot of you are going to be having dreams of people from the past. A lot of you are going to be feeling like you're hearing names of people. You're hearing people's names. You're hearing things coming up. You're thinking about them a lot. Get ready, because they're coming the fuck back. These cycles are coming back. These cycles are returning, so we can acknowledge, okay, at this point when the tower fell, you might have lost all your shit. How are you going to bring it back together? How are you going to bring yourself back to the now? And how are you going to make it so that the next time the cycle comes around, you are not being victimized. You are not victimizing yourself. You're not putting yourself in a sense of powerlessness. How are you going to challenge yourself to see that in every situation there is always a nuance? There is always a small aspect that you might not have understood that might have meant everything to someone else, right? How are you going to acknowledge that sometimes to re-sow a field, there has to be some crazy shit that happens. There has to be a tornado, or there might be a tsunami. There might be a fucking drought. Something might happen at first before you're able to sow the seeds of what you're trying to do, right? It's also going to be super important for people to let go of the last vestiges of pain, of the hatred, of the fear of leveling up. So in the last video, I was alluding a lot to evolution, how we're all evolving, right? This is coming to the point as we enter Mercury in Pisces, as we enter Mercury season. I mean, not Mercury, Pisces season, sorry, Mercury in Pisces, where we have to take compassion into heart into more situations, where we have to acknowledge in the past we might have handled these situations with anger or rancor or aggressiveness, but what has to happen is that we soften our words. Again, this is the year of Oshe Ogunda, right? This is the year where you can either choose to get things done through force, which will almost inevitably bite you in the ass, or you can do it through sweetness, through honey, through understanding that we are all in pain, we are all hurt children. So when a child is crying, do you beat that child's ass? Or do you speak to that child? Do you say, listen, I know you're going through a hard time right now, but I need you to hear me. I need us to work together, right? Trauma says, let's do the second, right? So moving more with that, of utmost importance that we are mindful of the ways that we're becoming more gentle with ourselves, and the ways that we can extend that compassion and gentleness towards others. So personally, I've been going through a lot of shit in my emotional life, a lot of shit in my social life, but what I've had to acknowledge is that the same love and compassion I have for me, I can extend towards others, no matter how they choose to treat me, no matter what they choose to believe. It is all about me, how I choose to feel about me, and how I choose to let that inform how I feel about everyone else, right? So this is a point where we all have to collectively make the decision to abandon falsehoods, to abandon bitterness, to abandon the shame that comes with having inflicted damage, with having damage inflicted to us, the feeling of ugliness, the feeling of shame, the feeling of when something really big and bad happens to you and you just want to shove that shit in the closet as fast as possible, when you just don't want to think about it anymore. We have to move into those aspects of ourselves, right? So whereas Scorpio, the water sign, lives in the dark, lives in the abyss, lives in the Plutonian energy, Pisces of Neptune lives in the fantasies of what we could be if we chose to expend kindness more, if we chose to think differently. Pisces is multidimensional. Pisces is big. Pisces is bright and expansive. Pisces is co-ruled by Jupiter, right? So with Neptune and Jupiter together, we come into the aspect of thinking, what could happen if I expanded more love into the situation? What could happen if instead of caging myself in a hole without giving myself the chance to think and just acting on all these cycles, I gave myself more love. I gave this other person love. I tell this other person, right now might not be the time, but I love you, take your time. What if we did this with ourselves instead of focusing on a so-called victory, right? So let's see the astro advisement for that point in time. Okay, so Mars enters Taurus. The situation improves on Valentine's Day when Mars has a change of mind and exchanges Aries for the loving sign of Taurus for the next 6 weeks. Although this change means that love and finances will be more stable and long-lasting during this time, if you're thinking of proposing or accepting a proposal this Valentine's Day, make absolutely sure it's the right choice for you. The volatility of the Mars-Uranus conjunction earlier in the week may have encouraged you to throw caution to the wind and forge ahead regardless of the reality of your situation. And the one thing you definitely don't want to do is marry in haste and repent in leisure. And then the 18th through 24th. A special full moon and a sun sign shift could bring some significant changes in your life this week. On Monday, February 18th, the sun leaves quirky Aquarius for the watery and emotional landscape of Pisces. With the sun in Pisces, your intuition is on high and your emotions will be running the show for the next 30 days. The emotional and creative sides of life are accentuated by a big, bright supermoon at 0 degrees of Virgo on Tuesday, February 19th. This is the second super full moon at 0 degrees of a sign this year and is a reminder that things have come full circle and are going to start over again. This is a week to stay alert and be aware because the Virgo full moon carries a mysterious earthy energy fraught with deep unconscious undercurrents that can derail your life if you forget that it is a time of endings and bringing things to their natural completion. Communications will be tuned to a very intuitive channel this week with a conjunction from Mercury to Neptune and a sextile from Mercury to Saturn that could produce imaginative and productive ideas. Power struggles over love and money might get pretty intense on Friday, February 22nd, when Venus joins together with Pluto. Since this is only a temporary condition that lasts for a few days, take a deep breath and try to stay out of the deep end, right? So that week was 15th to 22nd. Ends on the 22nd. So just leave this open. So that was week 1. Keep watching to see week 2.